Hey, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural broadcast of this first show for Unfiltered Faith Sessions. And I thought I'd just kick it off pretty crazy right now. This is an open kind of deal. You know, I'm going to give you a hot take. If you have something that you feel like you want to chime in, we can always revisit that back. I will provide an email address for everybody to comment on this, or if you have a topic that you want me to look at and you want to see if there's anything more to it, by all means, shoot in an email. That email is ufsessions at gmail.com. Once again, that's ufsessions at gmail.com. And today, I thought it would be interesting. I've seen this a lot ever since Donald Trump came into presidency, and a lot of people are wondering, hey, is this guy the Antichrist? And, I would say when you're looking at any public figure and you're an end days kind of person where you're kind of looking and you're reading your Bible, well, you know what? I think that would be really something good to research and make sure. You don't want to spread disinformation, and you don't also want to be freaking yourself out. But I think the best place to start with that is what is the Antichrist? What is the Antichrist supposed to be? And if we go to our Bibles, that book that we're supposed to be reading, you'll see that there's some traits of a Antichrist. And one is he opposes God. If you read 2 Thessalonians 2 through 4, he opposes and exalts himself over everything that is called God. Second thing, he exalts himself as divine. You can read that he is going to sit in the second temple. We get that out of Revelations, where the third temple is built, and he goes into the third temple and sits down and says that he's God and wants everybody to worship him. Depiction and counterfeit miracles would be another thing. This is also in Thessalonians. Works counterfeit signs and wonders to deceive those who reject truth. And he's fueled by satanic power. It says that, he's a spirit of Satan. Also causes a great falling away. This is where people lose faith. They are no longer, believing in God. They're no longer invested in God. They're invested in the flesh. They are invested in what they want. They don't care about the moral standards anymore. They just want to please their flesh. And ultimately destroyed by Christ. 2 Thessalonians, we're in Thessalonians on this one, 2:8, whom the Lord Jesus will overthrow with the breath of his mouth. All right, let's say, you just have to wonder about so. Revelations also says that the Antichrist will experience a mortal wound to his head and recover. And I wanted to talk about that one, and the reason why is because that did happen with Donald Trump. Whenever his assassination attempt happened, he got shot in the ear. And to be honest with you, hey, my radar went up at that point on the assassination attempt. I was, that's interesting, because some of the traits of the Antichrist is a very vocal, boastful, charismatic man, and Donald Trump is absolutely that. So, he's very, 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 very outspoken, and he's been a public figure for decades. He was in The Apprentice. He's the "you're fired" guy. So, and also, very, very big in the entertainment world. He's has dealings with Vince McMahon and the whole wrestling WWE. wrestling organization. Even I think he even had a storyline that he was involved in. You know, so yeah, this guy is very, very much in the spotlight. He's boastful. Also, he had all those scandals come out. You know, like the Stormy Daniels scandal, and then all these, sexual lawsuits come up for sexual assault. And, and then also, he's a pretty vengeful guy, too. It seems like he goes after anybody who he feels that he's been wronged by. So, I mean, yeah, some of this stuff lines up. But is this the first time that we've thought somebody was the Antichrist? I mean, no. There have been several historical figures that were thought of as the Antichrist. We'll go back to the start. Nero was a Roman emperor. Extreme persecutions on Christians. He claimed he was divine. He was brutally violent. His name in numerals is 666. So, I mean, yeah, there is a big, big thing online that talks about how Nero was the Antichrist, and it wasn't as like it was in the Bible, because Nero was around whenever they're talking about all these things in the persecution. So, yeah, this was written about Nero. That's who they perceived that he had to be the Antichrist. Napoleon Bonaparte. People thought he was an Antichrist too. Conquered a lot of Europe. He tried to control the church. He wanted to dominate the world. Charismatic figure. Oh, here's a good one. This one comes around a lot too. Adolf Hitler. He was, the dude's a maniac. Genocidal, he caused a genocide of the Jews. He personally attacked the Jews. This guy had it bad to destroy the Jewish culture. He attempted to dominate the world. We all know that. He also had a very, very big interest in the occult, and just overall, because of his hatred of Jews, and the Jews are God's people, according to the Old Testament, he couldn't stand them. All right? Holocaust. Joseph Stalin is another one. He was a violent atheist, persecution of Christians, and he believed in totalitarian control. Once again, these guys are all charismatic. I mean, all you have to do is go and look at Adolf Hitler's old, recorded speeches. He was a very charismatic guy. Mussolini, he was another one that was accused as being an antichrist. He claimed to restore the Roman Empire, which often believes is going to be associated with the Antichrist. He used a lot of religious symbolism for his political power. All right. Then we have Ronald Reagan. Yeah, that's right. I didn't know this one until I researched it. Ronald Reagan, they thought he was a Antichrist. His full name, Ronald Wilson Reagan, has 3 sets of 6 letters. He survived an assassination attempt, but he was shot in the chest, if I remember right. And some saw his rise as miraculous. So yeah, Ronald Reagan, I didn't know that. Go figure. Mikhail Gorbachev. He's a former Soviet leader. They thought that he was a antichrist. He had a birthmark on his forehead, which kind of goes, people, the forehand or the forehead, back of the hand or the forehead is you wear 666. He had a really noticeable birthmark. He had a big role in global politics and also was the reason for the Cold War. Lots of tension. If you remember, the fall of communism was whenever he came out of office. So yeah, he was Russia had to really come back out and come into prominence again after the damage that was done during his leadership. Barack Obama, here's another one. Rapid rise to power, global influence, conspiracy theories online, largely because he looked like the Satan figure in, I believe it was The Passion, even though it wasn't him. It just one of those things where people seen a likeness and went to town with it. Also, he did, very big on making changes, really wanting to, like he created, government health care. A lot of people thought that was like him working into more and more control. And then, of course, we have Donald J. Trump. He is a polarizing figure, yes. He uses religious language and imagery, unfortunately, yes. I have to admit, I have some strong reactions that I just would not like to see. I don't like it one bit. And he has, there's no middle ground with this guy. You either like him or you hate him. And then, he's just a very amplifying figure. I mean, they don't call it Trump derangement syndrome for nothing. I mean, some of the people just absolutely hate him. Even if he's done something good, people still can't believe he did anything good, and they just cannot. They just can't dig it. They just can't believe that the guy did something good. I over and over and over again, I hear misquotes from people that, nope, Trump did that. Nope, Trump didn't do that. That was actually another political figure. So, yeah, just craziness with him. But the biblical characteristics of the actual person, the Antichrist, is also referred to as the man of lawlessness. Now, the scriptures give these kind of footnotes for him. He opposes God. He exalts himself above all that is called God, sets himself up to be God up in the God's temple, performs, counterfeit signs and wonders, deceives those who reject truth, He is empowered by Satan, and ultimately the end of the story is he's destroyed by Christ. This is as the Bible states it. But the thing about it is, it's kind of interesting. In other passages of the Bible, like John 2:18, many antichrists have come. So, one, we have to understand something, that they say there's an antichrist. Yes, I believe that there is an antichrist spirit, and that spirit has overtaken many men throughout our history. Men who are evil, and they want absolute and total control, and they cause major hardships. Revelation says the beast imagery, global authority, economic control in Revelations 13. All of these individuals haven't gained that yet. Even Donald Trump, even the most current president, not yet anyway. And then Daniel 7-8, a ruler who speaks boastfully and persecutes saints. I don't know that we've actually seen that out of any of these people just yet either. Another thing, why do people compare leaders to the Antichrist? You ever thought that maybe that it's just because things are rocky right now, so there's definitely got to be an evil cause, whenever you see leaders who gain, they just become popular like out of nowhere, your ears blow up. Actually, Donald Trump's been popular for a long time. He was even popular with Democrats at one time, believe it or not. Was very popular with the Democrats until he decided to run under the Republican Party. Then he was a jerk, And like The View, for instance, they used to love Donald Trump until he wasn't a Democrat anymore. Then The View turned on him. So there's something there, that it's just I think it's right now just a perception. I don't know that anything's truly happening yet. The fact is that he is extremely polarizing too. This guy's got a lot of charisma, and he also can be just blatantly blunt and unapologetic, and people aren't always used to that. We're used to this very soft culture when people are speaking. We don't like it when people actually just tell it like it is or tell it from their perspective. I have to admit, the man is sometimes he could use to do a little more research before speaking and also watch his words. Um, is seen as deceptive and manipulative. Now I can get on that. I don't know where I seen it in Ronald Reagan, but I can see where people get that from Donald Trump. I can see that because he seems to go back and forth. Because we have to remember, this man's a businessman. He's not a professional politician. A lot of what he does is bluffing and negotiating. So yeah, he's a salesman. I just think that the way he carries himself, yeah, it is. It seems like he could be manipulative or deceiving. Absolutely. Has global influence. Yeah, I think that that's another thing. He does. You can't help it. He's got influence. Um, he is always causing conflict, and through that, it's just kind of like people fighting and making up, and then you know yeah, the guy's always been surrounded by controversy. He also does inspire intense loyalty. I mean, the people who love him love him. The people who can't stand him can't stand him. So these are all things that I can see, within you know, the Antichrist, where this is going to cause some problems, is because there's going to be intense love and there's going to be intense hate. The thing is you does he carry some of those biblical traits? Well, yeah. I think a piece of that is in all of us. Those traits, the narcissism, the manipulation. The thing is I think that with the Antichrist, it's going to be over on all of these things. It's just going to be a crazy amount. And I also think that the Antichrist ultimately will be somebody that most of the people love. Remember, he's the great deceiver. And this is going to be near a time when everybody's starting or has fallen away. So I don't think we're there yet. I don't think that we're in that Antichrist thing yet. I just don't. I don't think it's happened yet. I think that we're seeing the growing pains. Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing these birth pains that the Bible talks about. You look at the weather. I mean, for crying out loud, the weather's is really unpredictable. But more than that, look at the forest fires, the droughts in some places, and then the bunches of rain in another. We have intense weather patterns. We've had upticks in earthquakes. We've had upticks in volcanic eruptions. We've had upticks in geopolitical conflict. All of them are happening at the same time. So, yeah, I see the birth pains. Are the figures in place? Maybe in behind the scenes, but they're not your public figures yet, I don't think. I think there's a lot of testing still going on. Like, for instance, for the number of the beast to take, which is a number or a symbol that is going to allow us to buy or sell, it's all testing. Look at your cards. They have a computer chip in them, right? That's the main thing that makes the thing work. Look at how increasingly some countries, not quite the United States yet, but that's there. Look at China on its social credit score programs. Look at how CCTV has become more prevalent over in Europe. Surveillance is pretty hardcore right now. It's getting more and more and more. And socially, with all these backlashes, it's only a matter of time, I think, before America gets there. Also, things like our cars. You know, your cars after 2015, your cars, right? Your everyday drivers after 2015, the year 2015, have auto shutoffs in them. Yeah, they can just be shut off remotely. That's something to think about. There's another level of control creeping in. You have your cards. I mean, more increasingly, come on. You can't tell me that anytime that you're in line, you see somebody whip out cash, you're kind of like, oh, this is going to be slow. And then on top of that, how many kids actually can count cash back properly? I mean, we're phasing it out. So whenever you phase out, physical, money and it's all electronic, it's easier to cut people off. Look how fast you can have your assets freezed. I mean, you don't technically and truly own anything, you know? Everything can be taken away from you. And then here's the other thing, look at how dependent we are on technology. I mean, come on. I think some of these teens, if their phone stopped working or they couldn't find their phone, their heart would stop. And then how many times do you freak out? Another thing, think about how much of your financial transactions are done on your phone with Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or whatever other things are out there, Venmo, PayPal. I mean, everything is becoming electronic. The more tracking. I mean, we take things for granted that we don't realize are controlling us. Take AI. I mean, this is crazy. In the Bible, it says in the time, it alludes to it, but it talks about the two witnesses. And it says when two witnesses, and this is also in Revelations, the two witnesses will, they'll minister for an amount of time and then they'll be struck dead. Well, guess what? It says the whole world will be watching them and they will celebrate this and they will exchange gifts. I mean, I don't know about you, but do you think back in the time of Paul that the whole world could watch anything? Do you think it's metaphoric? That it's just talking about the known world at that time? Today we have that ability. The whole world can watch events that are happening anywhere in the world. So information is there. There'll be an increase in knowledge is another thing the Bible says. So these are all things that you should be paying attention to. That the tone is getting there for this to be possible. That's what we really should be paying attention to is the times. And the other thing about it is everybody's going, well, the rapture and whatnot. Have you ever considered that you're going to go meet God one of two ways? Oh, there's two. Yeah, there's two. You can die, a natural death. And then there's the rapture. It's in the Bible, folks. It just isn't called the rapture. But the idea of the rapture is definitely preached by Jesus in the Bible. And another thing that hasn't really taken place yet is a great deception. These are all things that got to fall into place. So do I think that Donald Trump is the Antichrist? My thought is no, I don't see enough lining up to it. I just don't think he's got enough time. And also he has to be in office whenever there is the third temple isn't built. I know that there is a lot of data that shows that it is a portable temple, and there's a lot of tensions that are easing up around the idea of a third temple. But the bottom line is it's not there yet. And the other thing about it is that there's got to be a treaty made by many for peace in the Middle East. And it also says in the Bible that they'll say peace, peace, peace. And the Antichrist will come in a time of great peace when Israel feels safe. So I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it from Donald Trump. I think, and I mean, he's got some questionable things. Like one of his religious counsel is Paula White. Boo. Any prosperity or apostolic kind of word of faith kind of orientated prosperity, any kind of church leader that's like that, boo. It's immediately off my even remotely respect because so much of it is twisted scripture rather than actually from the Bible, reading the Bible and preaching it as it's intended. So, but why not? I mean, why wouldn't a man like Donald Trump, who pretty much prides himself in he's wealthy, he's arrogant, um, and you know, I mean, why wouldn't you surround yourself by other evangelistic individuals that are like that? I mean, I like that the guy is trying to bring Christianity back to the United States. I like that the man wants us to be a self-sufficient country because I was around during COVID. Guess what? It sucked. You couldn't get toilet paper. I mean, come on. Of course I want the United States to be self-sufficient so I can get my toilet paper. I mean that kind of joking, but at the same time, kind of not. I want our jobs to be here local and not everything, you know, getting everything from other countries. I mean, I want us to trade with other countries, but I don't want us to be dependent in trade from other countries. I want, that's what I want out of the United States. I don't think that the United States was designed in that because there's so much control in that. And the United States is really about being free and having religious freedoms, um, human freedoms from oppressive governments. Well, here's the thing. If you trade with an oppressive government and you run into hard times, what makes you think that leopard's going to change its spots? They're going to use what they have to be oppressive over you. And it's just how it works. But I don't know. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. I don't see it. I'm not leaning towards Democrat or Republican here. I'm just telling you, what I see about Donald Trump, how it tracks with other supposed antichrists. Um, you know, and also be respectful and try to be constructive with what you say. Don't just go, I hate Trump, blah, 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 blah. He's a jerk. That doesn't, you know what? All right, that was completely worthless, for your opinion. It's completely worthless. It serves nobody. Try to have some facts behind it. Try to have some things to review so everybody who gets involved with what we're doing here has a chance to see for themselves. Has a chance to have a reference for themselves. Don't make it don't be hateful. It's so easy. Just don't be a dick. It's just like that. Try to be constructive. Show where you're coming from. Maybe lay down some articles or some info or links, so that like I said, it's researchable and it's not so much opinion. Like I said, everything here is just what I'm finding. If I'm wrong, call me out on it. That's great. I'll learn. Maybe I'll learn one of my sources isn't what I thought it was to be. I'm not perfect. I'm not claiming to be perfect, but I think it's as a faith group, I don't even care what faith you are. As a faith group, it would be interesting to know what other faiths believe about the situation too. All right. I'm a Christian and I'm unapologetic about it. But here's the thing. I'm not about forcing it on you. That's just why I believe what I believe. If you want to believe in Islam, that's great. Just don't force your religion on me. I'm not going to force mine on you. If you're curious about mine, great. Ask questions. I'll tell you the best I can. If I'm curious about yours, I would like to have the exact same agreement with you. Don't be a douche. It's real freaking easy. This is only respectful. And if you're not, guess nothing's going to get really said about what you got. Okay? So if you want to be respectful, I'll bring it on. If you don't, guess what? Too bad. If you don't want to open it up in the comments here, remember my email address is ufsessions@gmail.com. All right. Please be respectful. Talk to you next week.